road widening, 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 15, across the retained and severed parcels, and 18.25 meters from the center line of County Road 18. So they're requesting road widening along both of those roads. County Planning Services commented that since the subject property contains a water course and has not been subjected to recent extensive and intensive ground disturbances, that they're recommending archaeological site assessment prepared by a qualified professional archaeologist, and a copy of the ministry's letter acknowledging that the supporting archaeological reports have been entered into its registry. In reviewing the criteria for evaluating archaeological potential prepared by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport, the requirement for an archaeological site assessment does not appear to be required. There's a water course on the subject property, and that is the larger water course further to the south. And that water course is not close enough to the proposed severed lots to warrant the requirement for an archaeological study. It's about 400 meters from the proposed severed lot outside of the required 300-meter assessment area suggested by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture, and Sport. So I haven't included that reference in that condition as a recommendation in my recommendation. The shorter, and I discussed this with the Conservation Authority, the smaller water course identified in closer proximity to the severed lots, it's more of an agricultural drain than an actual water course. It's a drainage feature that has existed on the property, and it doesn't warrant the completion of an archaeological study. Notice of this circulation was circulated to all registered landowners within the property or within 60 meters of the property on June 25th, and a sign was posted on the property on June 24th. At the time that the report had been written, no public comments had been received. Since that time, I have received some comments, so I will just summarize them here for council. This is one comment received from Wendy Pago, and she is concerned. Her two reasons concern are she lives on the west side of the Harwood Road, and water coming from the homes that will be built, whose property is it going to be directed onto, and will property taxes be raised in our community? She has no issue with the application for consent to be put through if you can guarantee these problems will not affect the good people of our beautiful community of Harwood. And what I can say is that when an application for a building permit is submitted, they are required to submit a lot drainage plan to ensure that water runoff is not directed onto any adjacent properties, that it's directed either into a swale that directs into a ditch, and it can't run off onto anybody else's property. With respect to an increase in taxes, I am not a tax administrator, but these are new lots that are being created in a designated settlement area, and they will add to the municipality's tax base. They're in relatively compact form on existing roads, so I don't anticipate that 4 new lots on County Road 15 would increase the taxes. I have another email that I received from Sandra Carr. Her comments are that it's registered as farmland and protected by the Oak Ridges Moraine. It will have to be filled and raised by at least 20 to 30 feet to accommodate for 4 driveways. Where will the fill be transferred from? There's no drainage in place, nor is there a plan to. The current culverts and drainage system are not capable of keeping up with the existing and ongoing water issues from Harwood overflow, and they have experienced for several years. They've complained to the township on several occasions, and they've had to put in a water diversion and extra pumps to keep our property from flooding during heavy rains and spring thaws. If this property were to be built up, there would be lesser chance of water absorption in that field that is already waterlogged, and more runoff to all properties downhill, which would affect anyone living from Harwood Road north to south to west of Hillview Drive, including Young Street. If residential properties were built on said properties, she's very concerned with well drilling. Harwood is known for artesian wells. Where will that be redirected and how long will it take if it happens? If another overflow were to happen, what about leakage from said properties, septic tanks and drainages? And then there's options. They definitely have a beautiful property. Alternative would be to include access from White Road with lower lots that are accessible and less invasive. The property that is already severed and accessible from Rice Lake Scenic Drive, and downstream from Hillview Road. The problem with severing lots from White Road is that that portion of the properties on the Oak Ridges Moraine, and severances are not permitted on the Oak Ridges Moraine. It's down this, White Road comes off of County Road 15, and it's sort of the western property boundary. And with respect to it being registered farmland, the property that is being proposed for development is actually located in the settlement area of Harwood, and is not protected by the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan. With respect to fill, this is something that is generally dealt with at the building permit stage. When I did a site visit, it was prior to receiving these comments, but when I viewed the property, they're under active cultivation. The crops are growing. There was no indication at that point that they were subject to flooding. That being said, flooding tends to be seasonal and occurs in the spring. I'm not disputing what these people are saying, but as I mentioned earlier, runoff from houses, when they come in for a building permit, they're required to submit a lot drainage plan. Those were those comments. I received, let me see, one more here from Ryan Carr. I write this email as I would like to appeal this decision to sever this land, as I have several concerns about this and the neighboring properties. I've lived in the area for 30+ years. These fields act as a natural runoff from all water from the old schoolhouse. I have a difficult time with this name of this street, Ardaw Crescent area. Water lies in this location for 3 or more months in the fall and spring. I can only imagine this year, now that the county has recently installed new culverts under Harwood Road. The amount of fill required to build a house in this location would push the natural drainage more east, with the possibility of flooding neighboring properties. The size of lots will be right in the spot where the water pools and the ducks and geese hang around. I've been to several meetings where the owner of this land states that Harwood is beautiful and it is the place to be. I'd like to keep it that way. Those were their comments. And I have received a couple of more telephone calls, and I believe we have some members of the public here with concerns about this application, as well as the applicant, and the applicant's agent is here. I guess the applicant's agent is the applicant. So, well, I'm almost done. The recommendation is that the applications be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the report.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our process, just for everyone's clarification, our process is to go to the audience at this moment in time. I will ask for those who are in support, those who are in opposition, and those seeking clarification. At the end of that, the applicant and/or the applicant's agent will have an opportunity to address the reports that have been presented, any questions that may materialize from the committee, and as well an opportunity to speak to or address, if they so wish, any of the questions or comments brought forward by the public that's present here today. So I will go to all four applications, because I believe they're all very, very similar in nature. And I will simply ask the audience, is there anyone here in support of the application above and beyond the applicants themselves? So again, is there anyone here in support of the application? Moving on, is there anyone here in opposition to the application? Okay, several hands, obviously. Amongst yourselves, you will each be provided an opportunity to come to the microphone. Amongst yourselves, please, one of you come forward, and we'll ensure that the microphone's on, and we'll get you to speak your name, give us your name, and as well your address. So whoever would like to come forward first, please do so.
Christina Zevenhoven, and I'm 5356 Harwood Road.
Thank you. Please continue.
The comment about the taxes, the road widening, are they paying for that with their severance and everything to widen those roads to accommodate these residential units?
Just because the county asks for road widening does not mean that road widening is going to incur. The county asks for road widening on pretty much every severance application that comes before them. And that is just to ensure that they have sufficient land for in the future if they ever decide that they're going to widen the road, because the Planning Act allows them to take that at this point in time. I don't believe that there are any current plans to widen Harwood Road at this point in time, but it's the most common condition that I get from the county with respect to a severance on a county road. They always ask for road widening, and sometimes road widening is not even required. What they do is they want the surveyors to go out and they measure from the center line of the road back 18.25 meters. And if the road allowance is already 18.25 meters, then they don't require road widening. If it's not, the applicant, if it's added as a condition of consent, is required to give them a sliver of land that will widen the road allowance so that the county has the 18.25 meters.
The taxes thing's inevitable. All our taxes are gonna go up. More garbage, more lights, more what, like there's no way it's not gonna go up. I bought in 2021 and my taxes doubled when I bought. So 4 new residents coming across the street from me and everything. I mean, our taxes are already ridiculous for one street light and snow removal. That's basically what we get. So I know, I'm sure everybody in this room had seen my Facebook post, because I know there's progress, and I know there's people want to develop, and I know there's families out there with lands that want to sell it and make the money. Everybody needs the money, but there's just so many other places. Like they asked in that one, why can't they do on White's Road? Though she did answer with the moraine thing, they can't, but it's very upsetting to all of us that are there. I mean, and people keep saying, it's going to put value to our houses and this. Yeah, they're going to want people from out west are going to want to come and rip our houses down and take our land and build newer houses. So that's all I'm completely opposed to it, left, right, and center.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have others in the audience that wish to speak. Please, someone come forward. Again, state your name and your address for the record.
Hi, Lauren Peugeot. I live at 5382 Harwood Road, and I just want to reiterate everything that she just spoke with. I just moved here, a retiree, and I'm on a fixed income, and I'm very worried about the tax increase. There's no streetlights and whatnot having there, and I just see more costs coming with this go ahead plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Could we have our next person come forward, please? Again, state name and address.
Hi, my name's Barb May. I live at 5331 Harwood Road. My property butts up to one of the new building lots. My only real issue is the stormwater coming off of Schoolhouse Hill, off of Our Dog Crescent. I already have a lot of issues with flooding in my property, usually just seasonal, of course. My weeping bed in the back, I really have concerns about it flooding. I'm not sure that these properties are going to cause any issues, but I'm just wanting to know, where is the water going to go? How is it going to be directed? Is it heading down to the creek? Is it heading down into Harwood? Is it going down to the lake? How is this being addressed?
Barb, could I ask you a question? If I'm
Absolutely.
understanding the map correctly and my memory for your
Lot 4,
property,
concession 9.
there should be a buffer of the farmland left between Barb's property and the furthest south lot, a proposed lot. Am I correct with that?
There should be.
If Barb's is the most northern of the previous three
You're
separate
right.
lots,
Yes, it is.
yes, there is a gap that appears to be in excess of 45 to 50 meters between the southern, which is BO 624, and your property.
I only asked that for clarity. I
Of
will
course.
now turn the microphone back to Jennifer on a response for your other thoughts, Barb.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure. With respect to drainage, I can't tell you right now where the stormwater will drain. What I can tell you is before they get a residential building permit, part of that building permit process is a lot drainage plan
Okay,
that shows where the water will go and that it cannot be directed onto an adjacent property. So it has to be.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Please, name and address if you would.
Helen Lee, 5364, so I'm across the road. My greatest concern is drainage also. When Ardith Crescent was built, we were assured that it would not in any way drain onto our property. And I'm sure my neighbor and I can attest to the small river that every spring runs across the back of my property. I've been on that property for 80 years, so it's not like I'm a newcomer. And it certainly increased the water coming there. So if I was cars or any people to the east there, I would be shaking in my boots, wondering where that water's going to go. That corner by the old schoolhouse and just west of Cars has ducks and geese and small ducks and small geese every spring. When I was a kid, we skated on it every spring. And I don't see, well, the browse strokes behind me here actually get lots of water from that in the spring when it goes through that culvert just north of Carr's house and into the field there. But drainage is certainly a concern. And naturally, I'm going to say we all realize we're going to lose our deer, our coyotes, our foxes that we watch every morning or night if we're there at dawn or at dusk when they're going across the field just over in front of me. So, and there's going to have to be a lot of fill put in there, so I can't see where the water's going to go unless we get a real heat wave and it evaporates. Thank you.
Thank you. We certainly are seeing the concerns over drainage at this point in time.
And I realize that comes with building, but
Do we have anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? I'll ask it again. Is there anyone else in the audience that is in the position of opposition to these applications that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to, is there anyone in the audience seeking clarification on the application? Seeing none, we'll move on to the applicant and applicant agent. Would you like to speak? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Tammy Browse Bugden. I'm here with my mother, Pauline Browse, who's an owner, and my husband, Martin Bugden. Sorry, I've got a sore throat today. My husband, Martin, and I live in Coburg at 903 Charles Wilson Parkway. I'm also an agent for today's application and also part owner of the farm. We're proud family members and residents of Harwood, and I can confirm with our wonderful neighbors that have taken the time to write and also attend here today. You do love democracy because we have an opportunity to air concerns and be able to discuss them, and I appreciate hearing from people today. And we certainly have taken some time to look at the land that is within our ownership. And we have very limited opportunities because of some restrictions with the Oak Ridges Moraine and the conservation area. And we did look at the available land that we could look to sever to support further housing within the community. And those 4 lots were the ones that we had identified. I think there are some we all have heard today, some historical water management issues of the county where stormwater management decisions were made some time ago for Old Schoolhouse Road and is it Argyle or Argot Street that have not been resolved. And that is really a county issue that we would all like to have addressed. I think decisions that were made a long time ago with regards to how that storm water management would be dealt with may have changed now. We are very much interested in seeking support and going through the many steps to have these 4 lots severed. And that would certainly, we believe would help our family, would help our farm property. Also, it would help continue to make Harwood a beautiful place, a village to live. Martin, did you have anything in addition to
I think you
that?
summed it up just great.
So thank you for your time, and certainly if there's any questions for us, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We will go to our committee members now. If, you're sitting close to the front anyway. You may wish to sit down and we'll just see what our committee members have. I don't mean to keep you bouncing back and forth to the microphone, but I'll simply turn to committee members. Any questions or comments on these 4 applications? Larry, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a couple of questions on the properties that appeared directly south of the proposed severed properties. They are down a little bit. They're off the road. They're not at level with the road. Is that correct? They have to go down. Okay. Now, currently, the county has just improved the surface of County Road 18, or is that 15? And they've increased the elevation of that, I think, the road. That concerns me on 2 parts. One is the drainage that is on that road, it just drops off right now. And I put this to the county, if that a car goes off the side, it's going down the hill. There's no, they don't have a proper offset from that grade. But the other thing is, do you foresee that you're going to have to bring the elevation up, or will you be doing the same thing as the properties to the south of that location?
We wouldn't develop the properties ourselves. We just subdivide the lots and then we'd sell to people that would be interested in building. And as Jennifer said, they have to do a plan.
Okay,
And so, but I don't know why. I see the houses to the
Yeah.
south, they taper down quite low from the road. I don't know why you put more fill in there than you need to build a house.
right, okay,
But that, I'm not the builder. So
okay. I've got another question for Jennifer. The county has requested a shared driveway for each of those for those two units. Why is that? The other properties along the County Road 18 and County Road 15, specifically the three below, the south of that, they have individual driveways. I don't see why they would require a shared driveway.
This is something the county has historically, you're right, just given one driveway per house. But over, I'd say the past, I'm gonna say about 5 years, this is something that I've seen when, not just within our municipality, but within Elmwood Calderman, when multiple severances were being granted adjacent, even just two, they would ask for a communal entrance just to reduce the number of driveways. I think they have a policy about reducing the number of driveways, and they try to reduce them.
Doesn't make sense to me, but hither, because they are within the, the general village area, and the roadway is at 50 kilometers an hour, so I don't see why they'd have to have one shared driveways. But anyway, that's my comments. Thank you.
Other committee members, Mark?
I'm just gonna catch on with Larry. I'm not in favor of having shared driveways either. I mean, if you get along with your neighbor, it might work, but 5 years from now, who knows who your neighbor is? So I'm not real convinced that that's the way to go. So is that a condition? I haven't got my computer to work here because of the internet, but
Sorry, through you, Mayor Jib. That is one of the conditions that the county has requested, and because it is a county road, owners of the lots are required to apply for an entrance permit from the county. So I don't know in the future if the township did not include that condition, if the county would then say, I'm sorry, an entrance permit isn't, we're not going to permit one here because when you did the severances, we requested a shared entrance. I don't know, but they have requested a shared entrance.
so in today's proceedings, if we do not put that as a condition, what?
If you don't include it as a condition, that's what I was saying. I don't know what would happen in 2 years' time when somebody came to get an entrance permit, whether the county would deny an entrance permit because the township, they had requested a shared entrance and the township did not include it as a condition. I don't know.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll use some of my history here to reflect on shared entrances. Early 80s, we had a subdivision on the west side of Theater Road, south of Dale, developed, and they were shared driveways. I believe they were shared amongst 3 units. Some of those exist today, but the majority of them have been altered to single driveways per unit. That was a municipal road, a township road, I should say, really, and not under county jurisdiction. I think the concerns brought forward by our planner are very valid, and we should take those comments and the original request into consideration. In doing that, could I turn to the applicant and our agent and say, if these applications were to move forward with that condition of one driveway per 2 lots, would you, as the applicants, have concern with that?
Thank you, council. When we read the agenda today and saw the conditions listed, that was an area that we were going to seek clarification on, because that was something that was we were unaware that would take place, particularly when these lots are not small lots, they're 1 acre lots. And so it doesn't, if you're building townhouses or really small homes on very small lots, perhaps that might work, some sort of mutual sharing of entrances and exits. But when they're 1 acre lots, it doesn't seem to be, I don't want to say reasonable, unreasonable, but it doesn't seem to be a reasonable request by the county. I can understand from perhaps a safety traffic perspective, but as Council Williamson has pointed out, it's not like we're not on the 80 stretch on this particular part. We're on the 50 stretch, and not too far there's the crossroads of Harwood there as well. So we were surprised. That was not expected. We're not aware of any other properties. There perhaps is on, as you say, Dale and Theater, but we're not aware of any shared driveways for 1 acre lots within the county. So I'll just say we're not keen on it. And we would be, because it was a surprise today, we certainly would be looking to discuss that with the county in some sort of process to be able to make those changes or to make some sort of appeal for those changes.
Thank you. Jennifer, I believe you wanted to provide comment.
I just wanted to provide a clarification. It's just the entrance that is proposed to be shared, not an entire driveway. So it's just you come off and then they exit onto both properties. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood the difference between the entrance and the driveway. That's all.
And if I could just use a little of that history that I sometimes rely on, very similar to the Dalewood subdivision proposal, which meant that there was in this particular case, I'll modify to get comments to here, a great deal of your frontage is taken up with driveway running north and south across the width of your lot, as it was in the Dalewood subdivision case. And that did not appeal to the majority of the individuals owning homes there. That you had somebody else, in that particular case, you had somebody else using a driveway that went acrossways in front of your house. And I emphasize that was a group of 3. So the poor individual in the middle had both property owners on either side traveling crossways in front of his house. This would be slightly different, but similar in nature. Mark, any follow-up questions or comments?
No, I don't know what the applicant would like us to do with this. I mean, we could defer this, I suppose, and let it go back to have them discuss with the county to those entrances, or we can perhaps pass them with a condition that they could go back and revisit this with the county. So could that be done, Jennifer, where we could pass today with the condition that they could go back to the county? And if not, if the county denies them, then it would be just simply passed as is?
You can defer the application and applications, sorry, the 4 of them, giving the applicant time to correspond with the county with respect to the condition for a shared driveway. That's probably the cleanest way of doing it. If you pass it now and then include the condition and ask that the county reconsider, you run the risk of the county not reconsidering.
Do we have any other questions from committee members? John, please.
I just have concerns about the drainage issue that people have brought up, and I understand about the drainage issues that go on within the township. I built out here in 1992 and I had to put my property in the proper drainage mode, so therefore it would run down between two houses and dissipate it down below. This water is going to run into a field that is behind those homes, and the cars have brought up the opinion that flooding does take place. And Mrs. Lee's brought up the fact that there is flooding has taken place over her 80 years of being here. I remember skating on there. I have concerns with the runoff that may occur from the road down these driveways and then dissipate between the homes onto the field. Is this field been tile drained, or is it just a natural field that just the water lays there until it just dissipates, or what happens to it?
I guess we should send that question to the agent. Is there tile drainage there? I guess is what the real question is.
So there's no tile drainage that we're aware of. It just ponds in the field. It has done forever, and it just ponds more and more in the field. But as Jennifer said, anybody who builds would have to take care of the runoff. They can't have the runoff come from those properties onto the fields. And just, does that answer your question, John?
It does to a point. But if the water comes off County Road 15, comes down between the homes, or the water dissipates from the eave troughs down through, they will probably have a natural swale down into the field. There's no other way unless you build up this high and it comes down onto the county road, which will be ditched and dissipate that way. If the homes that have been built on the east side always have been down below grade.
Yes.
The houses on the west side are basically equal or
They're
above grade.
uphill, yes.
So my concerns are that everything running off these homes are going to just go down in the field and cause either more flooding or less flooding. All depends which way. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that before the building permits are issued, they have to come up with some kind of a plan to say
Yes.
where it's going to go.
Yes.
I would like to see some kind of a plan prior to approving this, because I'm concerned about the runoff of the water.
But a problem with that, John, is we don't know who's going to buy the 4 lots. So if they buy one lot or what. And same to go with the driveway issue. If you have a shared driveway, but you've only sold one lot, does the guy get a half a driveway to go out on the lot line? Or does he build over the lot line to have a full driveway so he can exit the property? You got the same type of issues, because nothing's to say all 4 lots are going to sell. If you look now on Sully Road, some of those lots sold during the peak when real estate was high. There's only one been built. Many of them are back for sale again. You can't guarantee what's going to sell and what's going to go and when it. But there's also the shared driveway aspect. If you sold the most northerly lot and the most southerly lot, what do they do? Encroach on the 2 middle lots to put the driveway in? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
But I think, Councillor Davidson, you did raise a really good question. Severed or not. Residents have come here today with water management issues. And so I think it's probably a good thing, to be perfectly honest, that this application did come forward, because there are some real concerns. Our neighbors, the Carrs, Mr. Carr just told me 2 days ago, first that I've ever known, that the stormwater management from the top of the hill, not on any of our properties, has been flooding his garage. Well, how is that okay? And so I think that it's really important that if there is approval for the lots, we have to go through the process and deal with water management. But this application doesn't deal with this historical issue of the county's decision a number of years ago and having it come down and affect Miss Lee's property, and all of the other residents that you've heard in person and by email. And so, sometimes other good things come out of other actions.
Very forthright, and thank you for that response. Any further questions from committee members? Mark?
I guess we have to ask the applicant. I mean, do you wish this to be deferred so you have opportunity to go back to the county and talk about these shared driveways?
Well, council members, I hadn't really intended to speak, but been.
No,
Heard.
Pauline, at a process, we need you to identify yourself as Pauline
sorry.
Browse
I'm
and your
Paul-
address, of course.
I'm Pauline Browse, 6228 Bryce Lake Scenic Drive. This issue of water management that others have spoken about is something that my sisters and I went to the county probably 20 years ago. I think before, Mark, you were on the county, talking about why is the county dumping all this water onto our farmland? And that's exactly what is happening. There's two culverts, one on County Road 15, right at Barbara May's property line there on our property line, which goes right over. And the reason that that is in there is because of the Argyle subdivision that was put up there in 1978. And so the report from the county at the time, when he said, you know, you're doing this road, they're doing the road again just this 2 weeks ago, but they were doing the road at the time. I said, this is the time to now deal with this management. And you know what the report was from the county? Well, you didn't complain in 1978 of those subdivision going in. So, you know, we're not going to do anything about it now. So, I mean, it was so unsatisfactory. Not only is that culvert in, but then there's the culvert on County Road 18, which is right across the road from us. So from the school property, then there's another culvert that goes around to push the water over to on the north side where our house is. So our property gets soaking wet because we've got the county putting another culvert in there to put all the water over there. So it's really a tremendous county issue here of dealing with the water. Now, Harwood is a wonderful place for water. We've got a great amount of water, and the water table is very, very high. There, you don't have to go dig down very far to get water. There's an advantage of having the water. We never have to water our lawn. It's always green. But you know, it's the issue of the water management, not only here, but further down. There are so many artesian wells, even north of where we are, down towards the community hall. All this water going across the road. And I often wonder just where all these are. And then there's the water right down at the Harwood dock of water going down. And of course, I won't get into the dock area, but there's really a whole look at the water management in the village that I think is at some point in time, and you, Mayor Jib, being on the county council, I think perhaps it would be wonderful if you took this as a project in terms of how to manage this water that is dumping onto people's property and not having the proper drainage, because there is the decline that could go straight to the lake. But you know, I wasn't aware that Helen Lee's property was getting flooded. But you know, this needs to be looked at, because it's just not one or two properties that's being affected by this situation.
Councillor Lupton, your question was to us whether we would request this application to be deferred. or not, and we'd prefer it not to be deferred. We'd like it to proceed, please.
Thank you. Any further questions from committee members? I have one question, and it would be clarity. Do any of our staff that's present with us know the requirements for a contractor, a developer, when a artesian well is struck? Is there any history that can be shared with us to know what happens then? Because that was brought forward as a very real potential. Please, Pauline, if you can help us.
Yes, there are many artesian wells, and right next to our property, on County Road 18, from our house, there's another house, and then there have been two houses built just east of our place. And when they built the house, and they put in an artesian well, our property got totally and absolutely flooded to the north of our house. And what happened? I mean, we were concerned, what's going to happen to this? Is this artesian well? Because we've got two people draining their artesian wells already into our property north of our house into the creek. So I was most concerned. I certainly spoke to Deputy Mayor Larry Williamson about this, and then the environment came down too. But what happened with this particular well, person that was putting in this well, there is such a thing as that they can contain the artesian well. It costs a little bit more, but you actually can put in a well. If you hit an artesian well, there's a mechanism. I don't know what the mechanism is, but there is a mechanism that can be put in that stops the artesian aspect of this well. So it is possible to do it, and that's what happened at that particular house. The second house did not hit an artesian well, but that house did, and we were very pleased how things actually turned out with that.
Still haven't got the mic on. Thank you. Our building department staff may have a comment here.
Thanks, Mayor Jib. Yes, I can confirm that through that process for a property that was on the north side of the road, they did have the ministry come down and cap the well when it was overflowing. So hopefully that helps. The municipality doesn't regulate wells. It is private, done through the ministry.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim on that topic when he's here at the podium?
Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Do you have a question? Please, feel free.
Well, with regards to Mark's, concern about deferring, and the applicant doesn't want to defer. And we've talked about a number of issues. One's the shared driveway, and the other one is the drainage issue. So two of those elements are concerned to a number of people objecting, but the fact is that you've got an individual or a group of individuals who are wanting to sever this property, which is they have no opportunity to do so. And we do want to increase the population in these hamlet areas. We've got to increase our population. I don't see it as a problem, as they indicated that although they're severing these properties, it's not their issue or their problem about the drainage. And I can certainly understand the people having that problem, but thereby it's a county issue, not a township issue. And I would suggest that you make your application to the county to have this issue, not just these 4 lots, but that whole area to be evaluated. But I would suggest that we recommend to approve this application as it stands. So to Mark, if you agree with that.
And I believe we have to do them one at a time anyway, but yeah.
I hear the suggestion. Are there any other comments? Then I have a question. We have a number of people, including our owners and our applicants, acknowledging that there's currently water runoff issues. I think we are all aware that when we create a lot, chances are development is going to follow. Sometimes you don't know how soon or how long away. But each and every time that a lot gets developed, it gets driveways with different runoffs than what it is today. It gets roof lines with different runoffs than the where it is today. In this particular case, we get the potential of elevation changes. And I can eliminate the thought and just simply say, we're going to get elevation changes. We're going to change flow rates. We're going to change flow volumes. That's my background of where I think I am, but I'm going to ask now the next question. Because as our committee member Williamson has said, we've got people with concerns. It's really a county concern. And we got applicants that want to move forward. I get all of that. So I'm going to stop my comments and ask a question, which is, what process is available to this committee, whether we follow that process or not, but what process is available to this committee today, considering there's 4 applications in front of us, that we can take, what process can we take to properly address the known, which is water runoff concerns? And that may help form our answer to our question in front of us on approval or not. So what process can we take?
I see 2 options in front of you right now. There was a time when we could go use site plan and include site plan as a condition of approval, but we can't do that anymore. Planning Act does not allow municipalities to require site plan approval for a residential development of less than 10 units. So that's gone. The first option is you could include as a condition of consent preparation of a drainage plan prepared by a qualified professional engineer that would be it would have to be registered on title, so that there would have to be some sort of a development agreement registered on title so that it goes with the lots. And that could come up with a drainage plan for it. So that was option A. Option B is deferral of the applications pending completion of a drainage plan prior to approval. It would still end up with, if it's done, it would still have to be registered on title, I would think, in some form of a development agreement that requires the applicant to comply with that. So one is putting it as a condition of consent, and one of it is putting it prior to approval. If it's done as a condition of consent, that means the consents cannot be finalized until that plan is done and it's registered on title. That being said, it doesn't come back to council then, because once it's approved, it's up to staff to make sure that the conditions of consent are fulfilled. So those are what I see the options being. Perhaps somebody from the building department, if they have any other options before them. There's also the option or the discussion about, is this a plan? This might be a plan 1B. instead of requiring as a condition of consent, that the drainage plan be prepared prior to completion of prior to fulfillment and finalization of the consent, that they would have to enter into an agreement that a drainage plan be prepared for that lot prior to the issuance of a building permit. I don't know. That's where Tim, I think, is going to get involved here.
Just while Tim's transitioning up to the podium, is it Mr. Carr that owns the property immediately east of what I call the new Harwood School? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, Tim, do you have a follow-up to Jennifer's response?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to add something. I just wanted to mention for a little bit of extra clarity on the drainage portion of this. It's a little difficult because we have two different issues. One, we're looking at the individual lot grading, and the other, it's associated to the retained parcel that has some issues with drainage going through cross culverts. So for clarity on the individual lot grading, that is a requirement prior to development. And it goes through a building permit process where they will have a drainage plan. Some of the engineering designs, they always need to ensure that post-development is better than the kind of development. And on top of that, engineers can come up with some creative ideas using infiltration trenches or other mechanisms to control the additional volume of water that would be directed to one particular location. So it can be done through the standard building permit process for the individual lots. But looking at the property when you're speaking to the overall drainage, that is a county and, in my opinion, county and township item that could be looked into, but that wouldn't be done on the individual lot grading or building permit approval or through that process. So I don't know if that sheds any light, but hopefully a little bit on the severed parcels.
Could I summarize my thoughts? And that would be that the drainage within the 4 lots is minor in nature, albeit a contributing factor to the principal drainage problem to the rear of the lots heading north towards the Carr property.
That's my understanding, yes. And the goal through any building permit process is that they can't increase that negative impact to adjacent properties. So essentially our review would be a decrease in drainage issues coming from those severed parcels.
However, at the same time, if the 4 lots get sold to A, B, C, and D people, your involvement is going to be with those individuals, not with the farm property owner to the east and north.
That is correct.
Well, the more questions I ask, the more concerns and confusion I have, people. I understand the desire for the 4 lots, but I'm understanding what the people have said to us about drainage. I can see that. And I don't have a solution at this point in time in my brain. So Jennifer, you wanted to speak again, and then we'll come to Larry, or what are we doing here?
In light of what Tim said, because he is more qualified in this area than I am with respect to reviewing lot drainage and that sort of thing on the individual lots. If the lot drainage is dealt with at the building permit stage and cannot, as I understand it, increase the amount of water on the retained portion, then it seems excessive at this point in time to require an engineering study to review the impact of water runoff, because we know that it has to be dealt with at the building permit stage, and they cannot increase the amount of water that goes on to the adjacent properties. It's unfortunate here that we have an existing situation, but the 4 proposed lots cannot, through the building permit process, exacerbate that situation.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Any follow-up, Tim?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Thank you. Questions? Bruce, you have a question?
So does the building permit process stop anything happening, or could a owner of those lots start to raise the level, change the elevations before a building permit is granted?
That would form part of the building permit application, so they would need to submit, typically it's a Ontario Land Survey, but often when you deal with drainage issues, it's also stamped by a professional engineer. That needs to be approved prior to any works being done. You're welcome.
Thank you, Bruce. Any follow-up questions? Larry?
Well, it seems to me that common sense is that these 4 lots that are severed do have some issues with them. But in one case is that it's going to have to be dealt with the individual owners with regards to drainage. So I don't think we, it's a simple thing. We either approve it or we defer it or we decline it. And I don't think what these people are asking for is to sever these lots within a urban area or settlement area. And that it looks like they're going to meet all the required needs for that. With regards to the drainage, I would think that all these owners who are having problems with their drainage should be going to the county and raising hell. Because irregardless if we approve the consent, there's still going to be this drainage problem. That's not going to be the problem of the Browse or whoever. So first off, I think we should go back. They've requested that we do not defer this. So we have a choice. We either approve or decline the approval. And for my mind, I don't think we should be holding up this application for consent. So that's my take, but I would yield to other members of the committee.
Do we have any other comments? Because if we don't, then I'll move forward and ask for a motion on B03-24. We certainly had lots of debate. I think we all have an understanding of the circumstances that are present. So any further comments or questions from committee members?
I'll make the motion if you wish.
Okay, so I'm asking for is a motion on B03-24
I'll make a motion to approve
with what conditions?
the conditions that were listed originally, because everything else will be looked after through the building permit process.
Yes, subject to the as indicated.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the conditions in the agenda package. Is there a seconder to that motion? Been moved by Mark, seconded by Larry. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. I would ask for reasons on this B03-24, please.
Well, I look at the agency reports and they're all in favor of the application. The drainage issues that were discussed today hopefully are going to be looked at through the building permit process. And those outstanding ones above and beyond these severances should be looked at through the county. So I think they have to be dealt with individually in different means rather than through these lot applications.
Anything the seconder would like to add?
No, I agree.
Okay. Moving on then to B04-24. I would ask for a motion, please. Larry, your motion is? So what you're saying is approved with the conditions that were set forth in the agenda package. Okay. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Bruce? Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of B04 motion? Carried. Thank you. For the reasons previously specified. B 05-24. Could I have a motion, please? Larry, your motion would be?
Subject to the conditions listed in the report.
Approval, subject
Approval
to.
of the subdivision, the conditions in the report.
Do I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Mark. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Reasons as before?
As before.
Consent application B 06-24. Motion, please. Moved by Bruce. Subject to the conditions. Seconder. Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Reasons as before. Application B 06-24. Find the right number.
No, we did the, we've done.
We've done them all.
We've done them all.
I don't need to add to that list. Okay. We're moving on to application B 07-24. Web. Jennifer, when you're available, please walk us through.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Jib. I was just making sure we had 4 decisions.
We're good?
We're good. We had 4 decisions. Okay. Okay, application B 07-24 applies to a parcel of land located at 5630 Rice Lake Scenic Drive. The property is owned by Pat and Rick Webb. The agent is Salvador Messina. And this is an application for a lot addition to add approximately 123 square meters of land to a developed waterfront residential property. The purpose of the application is a very, very small lot addition, and the land is located on the south shore of Rice Lake. Both the subject property and the benefiting parcel have frontage on Rice Lake, and the lot addition lands are located on the south side of the benefiting parcel. Now, the reason this lot addition application is going forward is these lands have historically been used by the owner of the benefiting parcel, and it's been used for boat storage and parking over the years, and they wish to formally acquire that portion of the property. So the subject property, that's the entire property from which the lot addition lands are being severed, is located on the south shore of Rice Lake. It has frontage on Rice Lake Scenic Drive. The benefiting parcel is a limited service residential property, a seasonal residential property. It does not have frontage on a year-round maintained road. It is accessed via a private road or private right-of-way that traverses the subject property, providing access to a number of waterfront residential lots in that area. So the land uses in this area are predominantly seasonal waterfront residential. There's a tourist establishment to the south. There is some rural residential development, and there is the provincially significant Close Point Swamps wetland located to the west of the subject property. The property is located in the rural area of the municipality. Lot additions are permitted within the rural area. GRCA commented that their mapping, according to their mapping, the Close Point provincially significant wetland is partially located on the subject property. However, they undertook additional investigation using aerial interpretation and commented that it appears that the subject lands have been mowed and wetland vegetation no longer remains. Without wetland vegetation, the area does not meet the definition of a wetland, and GRCA commented that there may be a drainage feature in proximity and that no additional development is permitted. With this lot addition, no new developable lot is being created. It's just a lot addition, a very small lot addition being added to a developed waterfront residential property. The use of the severed lands will remain the same for boat parking and parking for that developed waterfront residential property. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine. The county official plan, its rural areas, lot additions are permitted. Hamilton Township official plan, rural, lot additions are permitted. The wetland to the south, to the west, it is a provincially significant wetland. Ordinarily, any development within 120 meters of a provincially significant wetland requires the completion of a environmental impact study. However, no new developable lot is being created. It is only a lot addition to a developed shoreline, or excuse me, a developed shoreline seasonal residential use, and it was not deemed to be warranted at this point in time. There's not going to be any change in function with that property. It's just a small lot line adjustment. The benefiting parcel is zoned limited service residential, and the severed and part of the retained parcel are zoned environmental protection wetland. In this case, I'm not recommending that the severed parcel be rezoned to the limited service residential. Usually when we do a severance and add land to a developed property, if the lot addition lands have a different zoning, we recommend that they be rezoned to the same as the benefiting parcel. However, in this case, because it is a environmental protection wetland zoning, I'm recommending that zoning just remain in place for that portion of the land. So I'm not recommending a zoning bylaw amendment as a condition of consent. The application was circulated to the agencies as required, and GRCA, which is the most important commenting agency for this application, given the environmental feature to the west, they stated that they had no objection to the proposed severance because no new developable lot is being created. The building department had no objection. The fire department had no comment. The public works department had no objection. And Northumberland County had no objections to the proposed lot addition. However, they did request road widening along County Road 18 to ensure a frontage of 17-meter road allowance from the center line. Now, there were previous severances on this property, so I'm not sure whether road widening was taken at that time or not. I have included it as a condition of consent. If the road widening already exists, then no further road widening is required. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered landowners within 60 meters on June 25th, and a sign was posted on June 20th. No public comments have been received to date. So the recommendation is that the small lot addition be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the report. It's consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the growth plan, the county OP, and the township official plan.
Thank you. Process again is to go to the audience. See that we do have some representation here today. Is there anyone here in support of this application? Is there anyone is there anyone in opposition to this application? Is there anyone here seeking clarification? Seeing none, our applicant is here. And the agent is here. Would anyone like to speak to this or answer questions if the committee have any? Seeing none coming forward, I'll go to committee members. Any questions or comments? I shall provide one. My disappointment and frustration in the county wanting a road widening for a lot line adjustment of that size in that location. Yeah, it doesn't change my frustration level. I would ask for a motion. John, please.
Motion to approve with the conditions within the report.
Thank you. Seconder Bruce. Any follow-up questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Reasons, John, as specified. Yep. And Jennifer, that's good with your. Okay. One more consent. Being application B08-24, McCabe and Bland. Could I have the planning report, please?
I'll just wait. Sure, I'll take that one. Through your Mayor Jip, application B08-24 is another lot addition application. With this application, the property is located at 3659 Harwood Road and part of Lot 5, Concession 5 in the township. And the applicant is proposing to sever 4.67 hectares of land for lot addition purposes from 3659 Harwood Road, adding the land to a vacant 6.3 hectare rural property immediately to the north of the severed lands. With this application, what they're essentially doing is creating a larger rural residential lot, and all of the larger rural lands will all be contained on one property. They have two properties. They want to build on the resultant property, and they want to retain all of those rural lands in one holding. And the reason that this is being done as a lot addition is this property is located on the Oak Ridges Moraine. New lot creation is not permitted on the Oak Ridges Moraine. However, this is a lot addition. They're starting with 2 lots and they're going to be ending up with 2 lots, albeit one of the lots will be larger than the other, but it's still 2 lots. It's still only 2 houses that can be built, the existing one and 1 new dwelling on the resultant property. As part of this application, the applicants were required to submit a scoped natural heritage evaluation. And the purpose of that natural heritage evaluation was because of the presence of the designated woodland on the property. The green area on the air photo is identified in our official plan as a significant woodland, and as such, they were required to do a scoped natural heritage evaluation. During the preparation of the scoped natural heritage evaluation, they identified a wetland in proximity to the pond, and the pond is in about the location where it says Con 5 or Lot 5, Con 5 on the air photo. It's just under there. So the wetland sort of migrates up and to the northeast. So with this application, they did the necessary study. It's been determined that there will be no negative impact on the environment or their features with respect to the proposed development. They are proposing the construction of a new single detached dwelling with access off of Dano Road. During the circulation of the application, I received 1 telephone call from an adjacent property owner on County Road 15. They were inquiring as to whether the access would be off of Dano Road or Harwood Road. They were slightly concerned about that. It was explained that they were looking off of Dano Road and their concerns were addressed. So the recommendation with this application is that it be approved because the applicants have done the necessary work to demonstrate that there's not going to be any negative impact on the identified natural heritage features on the property. It's a lot addition. There's no new developable lots being created. The proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan, the growth plan, the county official plan, which allows lot additions which are considered a technical consent on lands within the Oak Ridges Moraine, and the township's official plan. So there was a lot of reading in this report, but what it comes down to is they're doing a lot addition and there's no negative impact on the environmental features on the property. The Conservation Authority reviewed the application and they had no concerns. So the recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the report.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our audience has gotten pretty thin, but just for the record, in case there's someone around the doorway, I will ask, is there anyone here in support of the application? Is there anyone here in opposition to the application? And is there anyone here seeking clarification? And we haven't seen anyone come through the doorway, so we shall move on to the committee members. Any questions or comments? Bruce, please.
Is there, right on the corner, is that a single family dwelling that on a, and that's on a severed parcel already severed off this, is that correct? Stevens?
Owned now by a member of the Ferguson family. Any other questions or comments?
My name is Salvador Messina. Question for you, Jennifer. Do I need a copy of the approval for the severance of the lot addition from you? Because I gotta give it to the surveyor.
Right. You'll be receiving a copy of the notice of decision, probably in a couple of days.
Couple of days?
Yep.
Okay, great. You send it by email or? I think you
Yes.
have my email. So.
Yes, by email.
Okay, that's Salvatore Messina.
Yep.
Because I need of that. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. for the
Okay.
direction.
Where were we? I think we were about to make a motion for
Yeah.
consideration, or did you have something you'd like to add, Jennifer?
I have something I would unfortunately like to add to this. I did not receive the county comments prior to the completion of the planning report. And they have requested road widening along County Road 15. It was not included as a condition of consent because I didn't have the comments at the time that the report was prepared. If I will give that to you for whether you want to add that as a condition of consent or not.
We're about to make a motion. Whoever was about to make that motion has that opportunity. Please continue, whoever is interested. Larry, please.
So I make a motion to approve this application, subject to the conditions listed in the report and with the addition of the county, what is that again?
Road widening.
Road widening. There be it done.
Okay, it's been moved to seconder, Mark. Any questions or comments from others other than myself? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. So motion to approve with the conditions set forth, for the reasons set forth. Thank you. I believe that completes all of our applications. So we're at the point of adjournment. And we have a prepared motion that the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on July 9th, 2024 be adjourned at 3:48 PM. Mover, please. Larry, seconder, Mark.